Brilliant.
And you're now live.
Thank you, Asha. Welcome everyone to this afternoon's FBS Chat. We normally do these in the evening, but today we've got a treat. Debbie Hogan is joining us from the beautiful island of Singapore. We're really jealous because we've just, thunderstorms at the minute, but we've had some good weather. So we were talking just before we came on air about how we were introduced into SF. And that's normally where I start, Debbie. So how did you come across this approach?
It was a long time ago. And when I was in graduate school, I started to hear little bits and bobs about the MRI and postmodern social construction. And I was intrigued, but I was very, very steeped in classical therapy, which is all about pathology hunting. And my early beginnings in the US for the first 7 years was in psychiatric mental health in the US. I worked in psychiatric hospitals, working with psychiatric patients, and the revolving door, in and out. So we would stabilize them, and then they would go be released into the community. They would be non-compliant, and then they'd come back. So it was that. And after about 7 years, I started with a very unrealistic kind of maybe naive view that I could make a difference. And I got so burnt out, like, man, I'm seeing the same old people in and out, in and out. And then around that time, I met my husband, and he said, let's go to Singapore. And I'm like, where the heck is that? So I came to Singapore, and I thought, I could live here. I became an expat wife. We lived in a condo. I could swim every day, gymming and all of that. It's old. I thought I'm in paradise. And then, when you have a therapy background, you have to find purpose and meaning and helping other people. So I started to look around, and I started to do volunteer work because I didn't have a visa to work. So I could only do voluntary work. And in those early years, it was like in 87 when we came to Singapore. There was not a lot of development in mental health or therapy as we know it. There wasn't a formal association. It was like a Wild Wild West. But I saw a lot of need, and I got pulled into the need. And pretty soon people were wanting to refer. So I thought, I have to be legal. I can't work. And I became a private practitioner. So then the work started to come. And I thought, yay, now I'm going to see the more normal sick people instead of psychiatric patients. And I was really digging the work, but I got burned out again. It started happening. And I thought, what is going on with the way that I'm working? Because I'm very diligent. And so when you're in private practice, my first experience, I describe it as sort of the garden variety. I mean, anything and everything came to my office. And I was working with cases I'd never encountered, like clients who pulled out their hair and with OCD. And so mine was mostly with schizophrenia, bipolar addictions, and all of these other areas. So being diligent, you can see behind me, I had all my psychiatric resource books, and I would study and how can I give the intervention, because I was trained to be a pathology hunter. And I started to burn out. Then I started to ask calling colleagues in the US, hey, what's new out there? I'm burning out. I need help. What are you doing to keep your practice alive? And I started to hear about solution-focused brief therapy. Now, I went to graduate school way in the dark ages, and it was being developed. It didn't exist. So it started to show up as I was already full on in private practice. So I bought books, and I would order books, and I was a part of a mental health group, like peer, supervision. And someone brought a video of Insu. Now, I didn't know who Insu was. I have to tell you, that was sort of the good news and the bad news. So Asha, we were talking about seeing or experiencing SF for the first time, right? And I thought, this is a bunch of crap. This is right. So it was Insu working with Kendall, a hardcore alcoholic.
Mm.
In my history, you know, clients come with files this thick because of all of the history. So Kendall was one of those. He had been in the mental health system, and her first question was, how is it that you're not drunk? And I thought, that is not the right question. You need to ask about his addiction. And she never did. So I was immediately a little skeptical. And as the story goes, you know, he said, I want to get a job. And so she's helping him to sort of work on a plan to get a job, never address his addiction. And maybe some of you saw that. And he came back. So she said, how is it? And he said, because, how is it you're not drunk? He said, because I came to see you, and you know, you can't be drunk if you're going to see your therapist. It was 10 a.m. in the morning. And she said, our next session is at 3. You can see the logic, right? Whether or not he caught on, I don't know. But he came back at 3, having gotten a job, had not been drinking. And I was intrigued a little bit, but still very skeptical. Very skeptical. So then I did some research, and I thought, okay, I'm going to go to Milwaukee, and I'm going to learn from Insu. And, you know, at least Aisha, sorry, we were talking about sort of the serendipitous moments. Just around that time, I got a flyer in the mail. This is pre-email days, inviting me to the first inaugural workshop with Insu Kimberg and Steve DeShazer. And I,
Wow.
hot diggity dog, I'm going to go meet them. So I went to this first sort of introduction one day with Insu and Steve. It must have been 300 people in the audience. Now, I told you I'm a skeptic. I have to be convinced. So I came with that mindset, and I was in a grumpy mood. Couldn't get a taxi, got there late, couldn't find the place. So that's sort of my temperament. And the first question she said, Insu said, turn to your little small group and share, when you got up this morning, what told you it was going to be a good day. And I'm thinking, damn it, I'm going to, and I'm, you know, I have to fight back my irritation. And then I had to recalibrate my thinking. And by the time we were all sharing, my mood had changed. So I'm scratching my head. What the heck is this? What the heck is this? So I signed up for the first full graduate diploma in solution-focused brief therapy, the Insu and Steve, and then a whole team came. And it started in January 2000. So I learned it from Insu and Steve, and you know, a whole host of people like Torres Steiner, Harold Iambo, I think that's how you say his name. Michael Durant came, Brian Cade. It was like the who's who. And I have to say that it was a very, very rigorous, a very, very intense program. Each module was 4 days, ended up being like 200 and something hours, and 85 hours of supervision with Brian Cade. No, for those of us who know Brian Cade, it's like if you're doing supervision with Brian Cade, it's a party. He's known for his humor, his wit, and his wonderful stories. I got hooked, I have to say. That was my entree into solution-focused practice. Now, after the training was over, and I'm just really, really just infused, and I'm inspired. And it didn't take long for things to go. I'm going, what's going on? So I asked my other colleagues, there were 30 of us in this inaugural group. Let's start a peer supervision. I'm tanking. Can we share what we're doing? And so that was the beginnings of the peer supervision that's still going on now. We've got 3 groups running, but it's now away from that initial group. Because I believe that was a key to staying engaged.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, Debbie, because obviously being trained in traditional psychotherapy, I guess,
Mhm.
and finding that you just kept getting burnt out. I mean, what was the differences that you were noticing? Because I know you said we turned to our group, had this conversation, and I felt lighter, and you'd seen Insu's tape. What was that moment where you thought this could actually really work, not just for me not burning out, but for my clients?
Yeah. That's a really good question, Joe. And let me kind of think about that, because straight away, like when you're doing 4 days of training and then I have a private practice, engaged actively in my practice, and I'm thinking, how the heck am I going to integrate this? And so Brian was the one who said, don't try to do the whole thing, just use elements. And I thought, okay, I can do that. I can't do a whole session and be any good at it, because, you've got to deliver something. You can't be a total goofball, So I just use little bits in here, little bits and bobs. The first thing I started to notice was me. Instead of trying to be the expert, I started to relax.
Yeah.
And I realized, what I'm learning, it's not just these techniques, but it's this mindset. Because Insta spent a lot of time on the thinking, the philosophy, how it's different. And I noticed a change in myself that was organic and was starting to show up in other places. But then I started to notice that clients would say things I'd never heard in 15 years of therapy at that point. I had been doing classical therapy. Like my favorite modalities were Gestalt, CBT, and systemic family systems, like Virginia Satir and whatnot. And people would, like even husbands who are caught in infidelity cases, feeling like they're going to be, grilled by the therapist, left holding hands with their wife, and they would come back and want to hug me and say, thank you, you've given me hope. Well, first of all, I'm not used to being hugged by men who, therapy, and never coming back and saying thank you, and never heard, you've given us hope. So I thought, what is it? What is it that I'm doing? And I had to sort of back away from, it's something I'm doing, because I was very clumsy and awkward and not very good at it. And yet I was hearing these things. So I realized it's that thing about collaboration, isn't it? Yeah. And it's that thing about the respect. And because I told you I was trained, I listen to the problem, I listen to the pathology sequence, I analyze, I diagnose, because that's what I was trained to do. And then I give an intervention. That wore me out because I'm not that smart. I realize I back away from that and I start asking questions and feeling fearful that they're going to find me out. Like, she doesn't know what she's doing. She's asking us. But I had a cheat sheet, and I was a collector of questions. So I just started collecting questions. And I would look for the right question that I didn't even know how to put together myself, but I would just steal. And I would ask questions like, well, how did you figure that out? How did you do that? And so I was putting the onus of responsibility to the clients.
Yeah.
Those were a few things that I started to notice that was changing. And my sessions started to get fewer and fewer. And so my husband, who's my business partner, one day said, Debbie, look at the accounts. You're seeing, the accounts are going down. You're not seeing them as many times. What's going on? And I was also happier, like, what medicine are you taking? Well, what I discovered when he brought that to my attention was I was seeing my clients about 4 to 5 sessions.
Mm.
I was seeing more clients.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And that, I guess that relinquishing of having to be the expert it must have been so, freeing. And because I think when me and Aisha first started, it was, I don't know if we had a complete faith in the whole process, so that we would sort of dip in and out. But I know that from the start, asking about client strengths and so what would you like to happen instead? It just changed the whole conversation, the dynamic. And it was a joy. And like you were saying, clients were leaving with some hope rather than feeling helpless.
Yeah.
That was the first thing we noticed, I think. And then I guess as we got more and more kind of experienced, it was trusting in the process. So that did take a while, but we got there eventually.
Eventually. Thank you to all the SF practitioners around the world that have been patient with us.
Yeah. And so in terms of the difference in the clients, I know it's made a difference to you, and you got hugged, and clients were seen for shorter periods of time.
Ethically.
Yeah, of course. What else were clients telling you that maybe surprised you, that you thought, wow, I didn't expect that this would be, the outcome of what we were talking about?
Well, one of the things which was a puzzle and different from the way I'd been working was asking the client, imagine that after a few sessions and you say that's been really helpful, what difference will it make? And, what is it that you would like to take from the session? What difference will it make out there in the world, in your life? And clients would just, of course, by default say, I don't know, you tell me, which is what they're trained to do, right? And I held my ground, and I just kept doing those, just holding back and holding on to the belief that the client may not know yet, but just hold that space, because saying I don't know is not an answer, right? Like Harry would say, it buys you time, so just keep quiet.
Yeah.
And that was the difference. That clients would say, no one's ever asked me what I want. And sometimes I get kind of weepy and tearful when I hear that. Because that hits me so deeply, that as a profession, where do we get the idea that we're the expert and that we should be telling them what to work on? It's just unbelievable that we're trained to take that expert stance. So I think SF in general just fit with my temperament. Just resonated with the respect that I already had, and that there's something off with the way that I had been trained to work. But I want to tell you that the biggest change was with my daughter. It not only impacted me in my therapy world, but it impacted me in my life with my daughter. This was what was really, to me, the turning point, because I was trained as a parent educator, and we were the first, my husband and I were the first in Singapore to do parent education workshops. Thomas Gordon, he was the first one that created parenting workshops. Thomas Gordon, Parent Effectiveness Training, and we trained hundreds of parents. So we were the experts. PET, active listening, and how to problem solve and conflict resolution. And so we had our daughter, we had her all primed and ready, and until she became a teenager. And our problem solving, our conflict resolution, wonderful processes kept failing.
I hear you. I hear you, Debbie. I hear you.
I want to hear what you.
Oh, it's the same thing. I used to love going home and do the subtle solution focused questions. How did you manage to do that? What difference did it make? Oh, I know what I'm doing. Oh, what brilliant. And then bam, she became a teenager.
So I thought, okay, what do I need to do different? And I just changed the way that I deal with her, which was, like Insu on my shoulder. What would Insu say? Therese Steiner, what would Therese say? So
yeah, and it must have been quite difficult, because I know personally, when you have that, when it's with your own children, I seem to have more patience with other people's children. I think that was the problem. So yeah, that so and having Insu on your shoulder was that kind of reminding you, all right, she's my daughter, but she's also a person in her own right, and I need to keep on track with it. Yeah.
I mean, it has to do with, the punitive, deciding, okay, you've broken some rules. But instead I said, based on what you did, what is your idea of how do you think, if you're in my position? I mean, and she just did a complete turnaround. And afterwards I said, I think some alien has come in and invaded your body, because I don't recognize you. You're so joyful and happy and following, because I just had her set up her own punishment, consequences. She says, it's because you treated me like an adult and you asked me. And I realized I'd broken trust with you. Wow, I thought, this is a keeper. This idea of working with people is a keeper.
Do you find that she uses solution-focused questions with you? Has she picked it up that way?
Not as bad as, Peter Zalbo talks about his daughters, like, Dad, don't ask me those questions. She didn't get it that bad. I was very, very careful. Because now and then she'd say, don't ask those questions. Don't ask those questions. So I had to be.
In terms of, because often, I mean, there's research out there that says, the relationship between the client and therapist, facilitator, whatever name we want to give it, is as important, if not more, than the type of therapy that they're going through. What is it about these solution-focused way of working that it seems to it builds that bond fairly quickly and quite solidly? What I've found, anyway.
Yeah. Wow. So where my mind is sort of jumping to is this idea in coaching, because I'm also, an executive coach, and we have this description called partnering, which is how we collaborate with our clients. And I think SF really just nails the idea of partnering, which is this collaboration and respect, lots of silence, but then you hold the space. So yes, I think, of course, we know about Wampolt's pie and how it's sort of in different segments, and that 40% of it is the client's resources and capabilities, and 30% is the relationship. And now we know it's actually more important. And I've always been fascinated by that idea of the relationship, because trained in Rogerian client-centered, who is supposed to be the father of the relationship and unconditional positive regard and things like that. And when you do the microanalysis study, you find that when you look at Insu and Steve and Yvonne, and then Carl Rogers, and the positive and the negative, I was just flabbergasted. It's wow, maybe you're familiar with that what does it mean to have unconditional positive regard when you focus and highlight the negative, negative narrative and the painful past, and then it re-traumatizes. So this idea of the relationship, I've just really been kind of reviewing what that means. Being respectful and re-traumatizing a client because the expert idea is you want to know all the details of that. That to me is not respectful. But asking the client, you're bringing this horrendous, painful experience. How would you like to explore it? Is what we might ask in coaching, rather than, okay, now let's talk about that and what, it's, I'm seeing trust, the relationship, the respect in a much more different way than I did in the early years.
And I think also when we're looking for, or when we notice strengths, or ask, what is it you wouldn't change? What is it that pleases you? I think that starting a conversation that way, almost it sort of brings, especially when we're doing work with families, it then, when the problems do come up or what they want to talk about afterwards, it seems to have laid a groundwork of positive regard and highlighting what they're doing well already, even in the managing of this difficult situation.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up, because it reminds me again, the pie, 40% are the extra therapeutic factors, what the client brings, who they are, that they're walking pieces of brilliance and they know stuff. Well, I was never trained to tap into that pre-SF. We simply ignored all that. And again, I'm astounded by how did we get away with doing therapy work when we ignore a huge part of what's really important for client change, is highlighting their capabilities, their success templates, things like that. So I have to say that the solution focused approach just radically revolutionized how I do almost anything. So as a coach, when I'm doing consulting work, when I'm working in schools, in supervision, in training, I can't help it. I can't go back. I've been ruined forever. And I told Insu that when I spoke to her the last time, is, wow, Insu, you just changed my life forever, for the good.
So, sorry, go on.
No, go on.
I was just going to ask Debbie. It's a wonderfully versatile approach, and you've just mentioned a few places. So, tell us about. I mean, I'm fascinated about your work in schools, because we're doing that as well. Just how did you get into that? What's going on there?
Well, so I was doing, it started, and again, it's one of those serendipitous kind of, you think unrelated, but there's always a thread, right? Things connect. So I was doing some counseling work with American School, the Singapore American School, one of the large international schools in Singapore. It was the largest at that point. And so I was seeing teachers and therapists, and some of them, particularly one couple, was asking, what is this approach you're using? It's so different from, and we love it, by the way. And I said, well, if you're interested, it's called Solution Focused Brief Therapy. I happen to do some training in it, but I just really downplayed it because I didn't want to do a hard sell. And because I've always believed in guerrilla SF. Don't announce what you do. Just let the effect and the impact of what you do speak for itself. And I have to really tell my students, please don't tell people what you do. Just let Otherwise, you might give it a bad reputation because we become almost this missionary zeal, and you turn people off. But anyway, it led to their asking me to do some training at the Singapore American School. And then, so I trained all the counselors eventually through the years, and a lot of the teachers through the years, and then the United World College and the Tanglin Trust School, and then local schools. And the next thing you know, I'm being asked to teach in the universities, teaching by sharing the ideas with teachers and counselors in school-based areas. That's sort of how it's grown. And now there's someone named Edwin Choi, who is really, really the champion for it in school. And he's taking it to levels and to places that I've never been asked to do, like the Teachers Union, that's sort of a very tight-knit group. And he's doing it in the most beautiful way, like discipline masters. Do you all have discipline masters in your educational system?
Probably called head of behavior, probably something like that.
Yeah, it's the behavior pastoral team, isn't it? Under pastoral behavior.
And you can imagine being asked to teach, discipline masters how to use an SF approach. It's just really, it doesn't seem to fit, but they love it. Yeah. So that's sort of how it's grown. And then, of course, Insu's program, the WOW, working on what works. And I think you've had Linda Metcalf on your show before. We've had her to Singapore a couple of times, and she did some things at the American School and some of the others. I just tried to bring kind of the best in any area so that they're not learning everything from me, and get this lovely flavor of the best in SF, the frontliners. So we've had some of the greats in SF world come to Singapore.
Oh, yeah. I want to be in Singapore.
After COVID.
Yeah. Post-COVID. Post-COVID. And there's Joyce and Joe Chang has been watching, and apparently you're a very good coach and mentor.
Oh.
According to
so Joe, are they?
Yeah, so Joe said, great to have Debbie Hogan on your show. Learned so much SF from her. And Joyce has said, also grateful to have been trained and mentored by Debbie. What does that look like then, being trained and mentored by Debbie Hogan?
Maybe you should ask them.
Guys, if you're listening, can you please write it down?
Yeah, I want to brag on Joe. Because Joe is one of those movers and shakers, and he's silent and and deep, and he had a real vision. So he was working at Reach Youth and working with the team, and they're working with kids who are probably high risk and need guidance, and he's just been a champion for that, and has just been connected very, very well across Singapore in some places of influence, like in the mentoring group and in universities. And he's one of those that really lets the power of his work and the power of the team that he's built, just let that show for himself, for itself. So we've had a few symposium kind of conference things where he's invited students who have been impacted by the work that he and his team have done. So hang with Joe if you want to know how to do SF and with youth and community work, and he's a great coach.
Brilliant. Yeah. So you're still in private practice as well, Debbie? And
still in private practice. Yeah.
So what is it? What's your next project? What are you hoping will come soon? Or
Well, right now, I'm very heavily involved in the ICF, the International Coaching Federation. I serve on the EXCO in Singapore, and our program became accredited because ICF is sort of that gold standard, perceived anyway. I spent many years, maybe the first 20 years, really trying to develop this first pillar, which was in the schools and then in therapy. So with the family service centers and mental health, and the last 5-6 years, I've been trying to really develop the pillar with coaching, SF coaching. So we are the first to bring coaching, solution-focused coaching to Asia, and the first to bring certification. Because in those early years, Insu and Steve were not really for certification, and nobody was doing it. And there was the CCPC, the Canadian Council of Professional Certification in Canada. And we had Ron come and we became accredited. And so I said, Insu, I know you don't approve, but in Singapore, people don't want to sign up for things unless it goes towards something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she said, well, it makes sense. I agree. I approve your program. But I think it was one of we were the only ones at that point who were doing certification. And then the CCPC didn't have anything on coaching. It was only in therapy and as a practitioner. So I said, look, coaches are a really funny lot. They want their own. So can you please go to the board, create a certification in coaching? And their answer was no. And I just kept pushing until finally they did, because I said, I have this feeling that coaching is going to explode in Asia, and it has. Mm-hmm. It's a thing. Youth coaching, wellness coaching. Singapore is like the largest ICF chapter now in the world. Wow. So this is my new kind of project. And one of the real unique things I'm trying to do is, when I started to look around and see what is there and what's the need, there's lots of coaching programs, but there's not a lot of coaching programs in the niche of like spiritual or church or faith-based, that's the word, faith-based communities. And so we developed a program so that people who work in those kind of like church kind of communities can get the training, because a lot of people in churches or faith communities would get counseling training, but they're not counselors. So they have the skills, but don't have the professional qualification. So I sort of look to see what's the need. And so we developed this, and it's really taking off, so that people in these kind of church-based communities, leaders and ministers and all that, I don't know if that's the right language, but in that setting, can get credential as coaches, and then they can use that as a professional leveling, and give them clout, give them notoriety. And a lot of people have taken that into a retirement kind of capability. So this is kind of the project I have to really see, and this is allowing us to go into some countries like Cambodia and China and the Philippines, because the Philippines is a very heavy Catholic orientation, and other places. So this is a little bit about what I'm doing, but also we are doing the top executive training. We have contracts with like the government, the top leaders in Singapore who come to our training. And so we're kind of at both ends, because I feel like coaching has a little bit of a elite kind of attachment to it. And I hate two things. I hate is exclusivity and elitism. I just find that. So I want coaching to be available to everyone and anyone. So that's what I'm trying to do now. Thank you for asking.
That's all right. And
incredible.
And it sounds like you've taken over Singapore there, Debbie. You've kind of push it out.
Yeah. I don't think so, but it sounds nice. There's a lot of people a part of the SF community in Singapore. That is true.
Yeah.
We stand very tall, and we stand very close together.
So how on earth did you manage to get the head of the government? How did that happen?
Well, it's just a weird thing. I was just contacted by the HR of the Prime Minister's office and asked if they could send some other leaders. That was 3-4 years ago. And for 3 years they did. And then last year, COVID year, they said, we want to make a formal 5-year contract with you and send the top. So now, a lot of people probably go for that, submit for the tender, but we are one of the chosen, a few doing it. And how it happened, I honestly don't know. And I'm only guessing, and it might sound a little prideful, but you let the weight of your work and the impact of what you do, and you don't market, because we don't do any marketing, only our website. So hopefully people have the good reputation, just good SF work, that it makes a difference, and that it's profound, and that it can make impact organizationally, individually, systemically. And so
And we've heard this quite a lot, Aisha, in a lot of the chats that we've done, where someone was really infused with SF and they go back to their place of work, but they do it almost like it's like a blotting paper effect that it's just let spread out. So just letting them overhear conversations that they're having and have those conversations, and then people become curious. So like you say, not preaching, but just letting it sort of take its natural course, which it sounds like. Yeah.
Wow.
So what can? Sorry, go on.
No, go on.
No, you ask your question.
No, it's all right. You go.
No, I was just going to ask Debbie about her sfacademy.com. What can people find when they get there?
Well, it's the training arm, and so people who are interested in learning about solution-focused brief therapy, we have the training. And then if they want to learn about coaching, it's a solution-focused coaching that's accredited with the ICF or CCPC or IASTE. So 3 accreditations. We also provide supervision. I provide supervision and our team. So if you look at the website, you'll see there's a big team that's all over in the Philippines. Like Joyce is, one of the people that we're looking at. And there's a team in the Philippines and Cambodia, Malaysia. I just feel like we're just so lucky and blessed that we have people who are really good, who are committed, and who are good SF practitioners. And so we just love collaborating. So when I talk about the academy, we have a team, a training team, a team of mentor coaches and supervisors that we tap into. So they become associates.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of work, and I love collaborating and sharing. And also, we have a community who's committed to their own professional development. So we have peer supervision for therapists and a coaching clinic where coaches show up on a Friday night, for goodness sake, on a Friday night to hang together and to practice and talk about coaching. Wow. That's how committed people are to their just ongoing development.
So Joe and I and a few other SF colleagues will be starting their IST Masters in Solution Focus soon. Hey. Shall we run or shall we do it? Any advice? Can we do it? Do you think we're up to it? two numbnuts from Enfield in London?
That question, it's always, it's not can, but it's how. How are you going to do this?
Yeah. And so you sound, do you have spare time? Because you sound like you're pretty busy most of the time.
Well, I tell you, I am a Simon Sinek. Sinek, is that how you say his name? I'm a follower, but I can't even pronounce his name. How sad. But I love watching listening to some of his recordings. And he said, When you're really, really busy doing what you don't like, that's stress.
Mm.
When you're really, really busy doing what you love, that's passion.
Yeah. Mm.
I can't help but do what I do. And I'm so busy because I feel passionate about everything I do. And I have to be careful that I don't stretch myself too much, but I can't let any of it go.
So even during during the lockdown, Debbie, I don't know how tight the lockdown was in Singapore, but obviously in the UK it was pretty awful for a while.
Yeah, total for a while.
And we took a lot of our sessions obviously via Zoom, training via Zoom. So if someone wants to be a certified coach through your academy, are they done online?
Well, you might know Kirsten because I think you guys interviewed her. Kirsten and I are good pals and buddies, and we both run ICF accredited training programs. We train in each other's program. Kirsten, being who she is, very, very smart, and she does things before it's cool or anyone knows about it, was already doing online. And so fortunately from her, I learned how to do online. So when COVID hit and we had to do online, I already knew how to do it. I turned everything that I was doing, which was everything. We didn't do online until then, everything into online, but it was effortless because Kirsten taught me how to do it. Yeah. So now everything is online. People are asking, when are you going to do face-to-face? I want to hold out. I don't know that I can ever go back.
Oh, I'm the same.
Aisha's exactly
the same. It's just so much easier online, and the breakout rooms are fantastic, and you can put a Jamboard up, and you can be more creative, and you can hop into the rooms, put them in a breakout room and go and do your ironing.
Yeah. And while they're in the breakout rooms, they don't know it, but I'm answering email, I'm painting my nails. Oh.
Yes.
No, not really. I love online, and I think I was skeptical that it could be really effective and powerful. It's just as good. It's just different.
Yeah. And I think
I prefer it.
What we found as well is that the reach was so much further. It didn't matter where someone lived. It didn't matter if they couldn't travel.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up, because before people would have to fly into Singapore and they would want discounts. I have to buy a ticket and hotel. I'm so sorry, but we just can't fund that. It's already at the lowest price that we can, manage. And now we've got people literally all over the world in cohorts that just span 5 or 6, 10 countries. It's wonderful. And that's how Joyce came to us. Joyce, who is in the Philippines, she's on this call. In the Philippines, I was just amazed that she faithfully would show up during the COVID. Sometimes the reception would be really shaky, but she came.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
Yeah, I prefer it online. Plus, you can wear your pajamas. It doesn't matter.
As long as you're.
No one would know. Yeah, I mean, that's fine, and but I think I find it easier to connect via Zoom with anyone that we're training. And it's just so much easier because you don't have to travel. So we were training a group of police staff that work in the community, and they don't have time to travel and meet. And it was just so much easier. Some were on their phone, some were in the office, some were at home. And it had exactly the same effect. Without the stress.
Yes, there are massive benefits. That is the truth to doing. It's this lovely idea of when you find yourself in a challenging situation, how do you make the most of it? I think this is a good example.
Yeah.
Had we not been forced, we wouldn't have known the lovely benefits of
But
doing
also, Debbie, it's been COVID in this sense has been a blessing, because this is where we're doing all the networking with other practitioners or therapists. Had we've gone to a physical conference or meeting, everyone would have gone off in their little groups anyway. So you would have been hanging out with your group. Joe and I would have been in the corner going, "Oh, who should we speak to?" And Joe would push me, "Go and talk, go and talk." But no. But everyone has their own little cliques, quite rightly.
Yeah.
Whereas when we do it on Zoom, you can't help but speak to people because you're in the breakout room with them and you've got 5 minutes to answer this question.
Yeah.
So you do a very quick introduction. Really, is that what you do? That's amazing. Do the question, go back in. So now when we do physically go out to a conference, hopefully soon, you know, it would be nice because we know most people's name. Whereas that wouldn't have happened had we have gone to, you know, Soul World or whatever before.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you have heard, but Kirsten and a team are planning the 2022 SF World Conference.
Yeah.
In Germany, and I'm the ambassador for Asia, so I hope to take a group, and that might be, hopefully everything will, you know, go back and we can travel, but that might be the first time for a lot of people in Asia going out traveling. So I'm looking forward to that. Fingers.
Yeah. Oh, that is brilliant. Joe, any last question for Debbie, or any questions for us, Debbie? One.
Well, I mean, I definitely want to look at, because our work is mainly with families, Debbie, so looking at the coaching aspect of it. I was just wondering, have you ever? I know lots of practitioners said I could never go back to where it was before, the way I used to work, and I know you've said that. Have you ever been tempted by some other forms of therapy that could work together with SF, or are you? I'm purely SF, and that's it. I'm staying with it.
Ooh, this is a little bit of a self-confession, and I have to quote Therese Steiner. Someone asked her a similar question. Can you mix? You know, her answer was something like this: "You can't be partially pregnant. You either are or not."
Wow.
So I'm pregnant with SF, and I
love that.
And I am not a believer in the smorgasbord, you know, buffet where I get a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And plus the research supports that people who say they're eclectic, it's usually in a family, you know, resemblance. And the research says be a believer. So I believe SF works. And then I haven't really mastered the depth and breadth. I'm just trying to get better at what I do every day. And that is, to me, complete and enough. And it's not for everyone to have that belief. That's my belief. So when they come to the Academy of Solution Focused Training, they know they're getting the best of what I know, of what I learned from Insu and Steve and others, and that to learn SF, be really good at knowing what SF is. So that's our claim to fame.
Yeah.
I love the way you answered that question. I'm so going to take that. I'm so going to quote that.
And I think what just came to mind when you answered that, Debbie, was the way that me and Aisha always say we learn so much from our clients, because we're not in that position of that hierarchy or that expert position. We're constantly learning all the time, because even though the families come with us with similar issues, they are unique. And I think that's what I love about this the most, that we treat people as unique, but also there's a two-way exchange of learning.
Well, I if you guys don't mind me sharing, I learned quite a lot last Thursday evening, and hopefully tonight as well. So we're working with a group of adult to adult abusers. So adults with not behavioural issues. My God, perpetrators.
Yeah.
And we learned. I don't know about you, Joe. I learned so much from them. You know, there was tears. We didn't make them cry, but there was tears. There was laughter. There was tears. There was laughter. They were full of hope. But I learned so much from them, what it's like. And this program is open to both men and women, but this was a men's group. There was just so much talk about how it makes them feel when people just look down. And yeah, you know, I can understand. I'm not going to go into the whole politics of, you know, they've been abusing. However, as on a human level, how much support they need. And it was just, I was in awe. They're talking and I'm just, you know.
Yeah.
And then I just asked the question halfway through, is it okay? You know, me being female, being here, is that okay with you guys? And they just giggled and said, you're one of the guys and we need you to check. And because I was, you know, because I think that was the first time we were running it, are they going to feel comfortable? Are they not going to feel comfortable? So if I don't know, just ask.
Yeah.
Learn from your clients.
Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? And I don't know if we have time, but I just wanted to share this little story. It reminds me of an Insu story. She's talking about being summoned to a case of domestic violence. And this man had been in the system for so long. He'd finally just committed the last act that would send him to prison. He'd beat his wife to a pulp when she was in the hospital, just, you know, on the edge. They didn't know if she was going to make it. And so they summoned Insu, like this is it. This is the last straw. And you could imagine the questions that you would want to ask. And what were you thinking? And but with all the respect that you would expect from her, she asked him, how did you know when to stop? And that question had such a deep impact on him. I think the story is that it was a turning point for him because nobody had recognized he had any strength or any capability. And I think that's it, you know, going back to about respect. And
looking past people's labels that others have attached to them as well, and finding the person behind that.
So I just love the work that you're doing and what you guys are doing with families. You know, I just have so much respect for people who work with families and who work with the fringe and with prisons and domestic violence. Those are areas I've not worked with very much.
Well, it's our loss, I think.
Oh, Debbie, you're so inspirational and so lovely, and I can't wait to meet you in 2022. Hopefully.
Big hug.
That's brilliant. Big hugs. Any last words from either one of you before we say au revoir?
Thank you for this opportunity to just share my story and be inspired by you all and what you're doing. I think this is the first interview that I might have ever done live like this.
Oh, wow.
I was very scared and nervous, but because I know how to do self-coaching, I made it.
And we definitely appreciate that.
It's been, this has been amazing. Thank you. And your passion, you're inspirational. It's been really, and what a lovely way to spend an afternoon. It's made my day. Thank you, Debbie. It's been brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And next week, Tuesday, we have FBS Chat with the lovely Hannah-Law Volkrat. And on Wednesday with Marco Matera. I know I probably pronounced that wrong, Marco, but don't tell me off. It's cool. Don't tell me off, Marco. and they'll be joining us at 7 p.m. The usual time. And for you, Debbie, incredible. Thank you so much. Joe.
Yes. Put the kettle on.
I'll put the kettle on. Debbie, can I just ask that you just wait there for a couple of minutes? Don't press anything. And everybody else, see you next week.